It was 1539, and at this point the king's absence was not good for the country. He needed to re-emerge. England needed a new ally, and he needed a spare. I reached out for likely contenders, and after some refusals, he and I settled on exploring an alliance with the Low Countries. Holbein was dispatched to capture the likeness of the sisters of Duke Wilhelm of Cleves for His Majesty's perusal. The portrait that came back had pleased him greatly, and the alliance would be very beneficial to England. Gregory had been sent to Calais with the honour of greeting Anne of Cleves. Having never left English shores, it should have been a great adventure for him. However, he was very much a home bird, a family man, so bemoaned how he missed his wife and boys. After several attempts to travel, Anne finally arrived on English soil on the 27th of December. Impatient, His Majesty threw caution and convention to the wind, and on New Year's Day 1540 rode to encounter her at Rochester. She was unschooled in the English custom of playing at courtly love and the jape of loose disguises. Importantly, she had never seen a likeness of the English king, so when a masked-cloaked stranger strode up to her, took her by surprise and kissed her, she was repulsed at the attack on her honour. How dare he? Did he not know she was to be the bride of the king? Of course the poor girl did not recognise the man who sadly thought he still cut a dash with the ladies. Of course she did not reciprocate his advances. Indeed, why would she? Then one of her entourage pointed out that it was in fact her husband-to-be. She immediately threw herself at his feet. Too late, the damage was done. Was it really her appearance that so disappointed His Majesty? Personally, I found her to be the fairest of the four, a view in which I was not alone. Or was it the dented pride of a foolish, deluded man? The question is quite irrelevant. I had long since known the king, and he has a habit of getting his own way. When I was summoned before him, I felt he would strike me there and then. The heat of his breath braced my very soul. He spat out the words, "I like her not." He tasked me with a way to wriggle out of the arrangement, but we'd gone too far for that to be an option. I frantically negotiated, pleaded, begged and renegotiated, all without success. I felt to be in the shoes of my once master, the cardinal. The king resigned himself to the marriage, writing to me, "My lord, if it were not to satisfy the world and my realm, I would not do that which I must do this day for none earthly thing." The ceremony went ahead on the 6th of January at Greenwich. The wedding night was not successful. She had failed to rouse her husband, a man known for his lust and virility. Or not, as perhaps now more the case. Of course, it had to be the lady's fault, nothing to do with any impotence on the part of the now overweight and unhealthy ageing king. I will spare you with the graphic description His Majesty regaled me of their wedding night, thus proving that there was no impotence on his part. The bride continued the facade of pleasing her husband, the confusion in her eyes evident. To be fair to her, he showered her with gifts, praised her virtues and outwardly showed no signs of the contempt for her. She was right to be confused. My daughter-in-law Elizabeth was appointed to the Queen's household, and all seemed well. The May jousting was enjoyed by all. Gregory and my nephew Richard took part, the latter having impressed His Majesty such that she was given a diamond ring from the king's own finger. I felt I was truly out of the woods when in April His Majesty granted me the earldom of Essex and made me Lord Great Chamberlain. I was still wary as my enemies, not least Norfolk, constantly sought opportunities to discredit me. Things took a turn for the worst when the promised alliance with Cleves failed to materialise. This fuelled the king's opposition to the marriage. Neither did it help that his gaze had now rested on one of the Queen's young and very pretty ladies. Unwittingly, she was the weapon which Norfolk, aided by Bishop Gardiner, would use to displace me. 10th of June. A deputation arrived at my council meeting. They read aloud a rack of charges. My many enemies took this as too good an opportunity to miss, humiliating me, tearing from my neck the chain of office, my reward for faithful and unflinching service. then escorted me to the Tower. They would pay for calling me a traitor. I was as far from that as it was possible for a man to be. I will not bore you with a list of lies and weak accusations they put forward in the Bill of Attainder, but the most ludicrous being that I was plotting to wed the Lady Mary. If I were not in such circumstances, how I would have laughed. 29th of June, the House of Lords passed the bill. Quelle surprise. It must have been a sweet experience to see the son of a brewer put back in his place. All my honours was now forfeit, my assets seized. Nothing for my son to inherit. My sentence was deferred conveniently to allow for the process which I had put in motion for His Majesty's annulment from the Lady Anne to pass the House. How sensible she capitulated. However sad she was, it would save her head and give her position. Importantly, she would keep face for her family and England would avoid a diplomatic incident. I had planned for this with meticulous detail and so was happy that it went well. I wrote to His Majesty supporting his actions, ending with, "Most gracious Prince, I cry for mercy, mercy, mercy." I felt sure His Grace would recognise all the good I had done, my many years of unwavering loyalty and service and support. I was wrong. Condemned to death without trial, I reluctantly parted company with my head on the 28th of July. I say that as I fear the man given the task was somewhat incompetent. Maybe executioner hadn't been his first career choice. A humiliating and public end for a mere cloth carder, as I was now known. Did the king have any thought for me that day? I know that he would later come to mourn the loss of perhaps the only man he could trust. But on this day he would be joyous. He had a wedding to attend. His fifth, to a 17-year-old Katherine Howard. Fare you well with that, your Grace.